How's it going, everyone? This is a very important video, different from a console warning video, but something that definitely matters. We're talking about industry layoffs, right? Because that's a huge thing in today's world. And we're going to go to the best example ever set in video game history by Mr., as we all know, the legendary IWATA, who used to be with Nintendo for quite some time and was pretty much the best leader. A lot of people praise him. People say a lot of great things about him, and it's very true. I mean, I've read all his work and everything. The guy was awesome. So we see right here, he halved, says Nintendo CEO once halved his salary to prevent layoffs, and it worked. Why that's so uncommon today. Tell you what, if you want to figure out a lot about somebody, one of the best examples is just seeing that in general. I would like for you guys to find me a Western CEO that would do this today. Hell, you wouldn't even see that in Sega or Square. But the point is that just how much more people there are over here and more staff is that right there is amazing. We saw the layoffs that Microsoft does as a company because when we look at Nintendo, they're wholly a gaming company. So this is the whole of their company. There's never any layoffs and nobody ever leaves. So they have an amazing unity and order going on in there that works because that shows you there's order there, there's light there, there's a family there, there's respect between the publishing and the developer and the community. It all works together. They don't dump off people like that. They don't view anything like that. That's not the way they work inside. And I wish the rest of the gaming industry was like that. Seeing people that stayed together for such a long time that you supported always be there. Not I supported this much, then the publisher takes it off and gets rid of the developers that gave you great memories and stuff for a very long time. Not those assholes. They're just there for the money and only look at everything as numbers and profit. But just having, individuals like this around in the gaming industry actually have a heart and soul. It's this right here. I'm telling you, you could just look at this all day and talk about it at so many different angles. And there could be so many different topics just off of this alone. And y'all who are creative enough and know how to go deep on things know what I'm talking about. This right here, man, imagine seeing this today. Somebody who actually cares about their developers, right? They don't. They chew you up and spit you out. That's how they view artists in the West. It's devilry. And they vamp off of them, jack the price up over their work. And then they make dumb decisions and they don't suffer for their dumb decisions. No, just lay off the developers for something they didn't do. Yeah, we see that happening at PlayStation and a lot of other places. But just in general, if you look at these companies, like we know Microsoft's a huge company, but looking at them, we're not talking about gaming here, y'all, or Xbox. I just mean just as a company, the amount of layoffs they've done is insane. Definitely as much money as they have. Sony, the amount of layoffs they've done. If you want to just go in the gaming industry in general, the amount of layoffs that people are doing every day in the gaming industry, it's bad. You know what I mean? And then you come over here, it just doesn't exist. Because over there, it's just nothing but chaos. Betrayal, only caring about money and profit. And that's what happens when you don't love what you do and there's not true love and unity in there. It's missing. Yes, Nintendo has added its workforce during the past fiscal year. Multiple reports include Nintendo's employee count grew since last year. For example, a report from GameRacks notes that Nintendo gained employees over the last fiscal year, a total of 7,724 employees. Nintendo hired 400 plus employees over the last fiscal year. No layoffs. Now, I can understand if somebody was like, oh, people just, they never laid off anyone, okay? But seeing that nobody leaves either says something because if they really didn't like it, they would be leaving. Like that shows up, it has to be like, oh, but it never breaks out in there like that. Some interesting stuff just to think about. Did you wonder why their results are respected the way they are? And people realize I can actually support these developers. Though, sometimes they can be ridiculous for certain things, just like anybody else, but they're the least ridiculous to me when it comes to video games. The new employee retention rate in Japan is 70%. Nintendo is 98.8% historically. 98.8%. Brand strength, the smaller number of new hires and a strong employee welfare program, a few reasons given. 98, look, new employee retention rate in Japan is 7%. Nintendo is 98.8%. Brand strength, the smaller number of new hires and a strong employee welfare program for a few reasons given. That really interesting article from Biz Journal. Interesting stuff, huh? Nintendo's one of the most successful video game companies these days and is currently one of the most successful Japanese companies around. It also sounds like they're both very selective of who they hire and can afford expensive benefits to their employees thanks to their success. Like Miyamoto's in his 80s still doing what he's doing. The same individuals are still there. You know what I mean? Look at that breakout that happened over at PlayStation, right? Remember what happened? All of them left. Sean Layden left. Shuhei's gone too. Jim Ryan did crazy stuff, almost drove things off. Like you see this, but they still managed to stay together for a while. But look at what happened when that happened. And then look at PlayStation. Look at how many studios you've seen be destroyed by politics. How many studios you've seen just in the past couple years. And you're like, man, I supported them for such a long time. It all just went out the window. Just ridiculous behavior. I want to get into this. I want to mess up stuff. So since we messed up, let's just lay off the developers. And these people could have been with you for a very long time. So I think that it's not only just that too, guys, but think about this. It's also the people that were publishing and leading, they also changed out too, to people who were just soulless number crunchers. That's when politics and all that stuff was around the corner as well too. They all came at the same time because they didn't have an interest in video games. Their interest was different. They didn't come into the video game industry for video games. Came in for profit and destruction. They don't respect anyways. They're mad because it's ruling everything they're doing. And it overshadowed that. Remember when Hollywood used to mark video games in the 90s? If y'all been around long enough, what's going on now with that? Yeah, it's funny how that turned out, right? They were laughing at it in the 80s, but when Nintendo came with Mario and sold 40 million and they saw that money, I'm like, oh yeah, their heads turned. Of course, capitalists, right? And all those other people that were mocking it over in California, over in Hollywood, but they don't have anything to say about that now. Look at them, yeah, they're a complete mess, just living off life support of Marvel movies. And certain other movies here and there. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about here outside of that. But let's get back to this now. Okay, it says a sweeping round of layoffs rocked the tech, media, and finance industries in 2024. Some video game fans are thinking about former Nintendo CEO IWATA. IWATA ran the Kyoto, Japan-based video game company from 2002 into 2015, where he passed away. In 2013, Nintendo released the Wii U console as a success to the mega popular Wii. It was a commercial failure, pushing the company into years of losses. To avoid layoffs, he took a 50% pay cut. Guys, imagine a console failing and somebody cutting the paycheck so that they can save those people and realize it was a mistake. See, that's a true leader right there. That's leadership. These are connected. That's that right there. So now let's recover together as a team. We all suffer together. If we reduce the number of employees for better short-term financial results, he said, employee morale will decrease, and I sincerely doubt employees who fear that they may be laid off will be able to develop software titles that can impress people around the world. See, he was about keeping that synergy there, that light to be to appear as much as possible. His behavior was based around that. His leadership was based around that. So it's all about that harmony and light and making sure everybody was equal in there. And with that type of energy and people who are good at what they're doing, and we know when it comes to video game coding and all this technology, there's a little bit more than humanity. But we're not going to get too far off track. But you guys get what I mean. But anyways, yeah, they keep that in there, and it's like that for a very long time. See, that's maintaining order. It didn't break out into chaos and get ugly, and people ran all over the place, and then you just get out, I fire you. It doesn't happen. Think about keeping it in order for that long, and then there comes a critical moment. He makes the best sacrifice to keep it going. Like they just have such like good organization and morale that I respect and honor and integrity. That right there is just so uncommon. If we reduce the number of employees, like he said, for better short-term financial, as we see, the morale increase, and also the software development will be down. His story resurfaced virally on social media last month, with some users praising his decision against a backdrop of layoffs at video game companies like Riot Games, Microsoft, who owns Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox. Oh, put Sony in there too. What are we talking about? So Iwata had faith in his talent. For Iwata, taking a pay cut over layoffs centered around his employees' ability to bounce back, Verma says slashing his own salary allowed existing talent to keep working on upcoming projects, which were intended to turn Nintendo's financial fortunes around in a stress-free, high morale environment. That's creator-oriented right there, high morale. The company released its next game console, the Switch, in 2017. Nintendo has since sold more than 139. This was like, oh, now it's up to 152 million. But this was just an article. They're probably more than that now. But anyways, Nintendo needed to see through the changes that necessitated launching the Nintendo Switch, which has been massively profitable for the company, says Verma. They needed to retain that talent, and a part of that talent retention strategy is a strong compensation package. So that move that he made went all the way to here now. That's why they still talk about him, because they realize what he did, and that move is still living to today all the way to the Switch 2, and it's respected. It's a risky move. Any CEO who follows Iwata's example needs to be absolutely sure that that company's strategy is still sound. He had faith. He knew. It's different. Or that the products they're offering are still right for the market. His decision could have been influenced by culture. There may have been a cultural aspect to Iwata's decision. Culturally speaking, in Japan, especially in the face of companies not doing so well and feeling contrition or being apologetic, there's this notion of individuals needing to save face. And the way they might do that is taking the pay cut. So he just became the cross. Though I don't see people doing that today, so he decided to do that. The concept of Hansai, a practice that emphasizes self-reflecting and meditating on mistakes from a proper apology and set forth a prevention plan going forth, is considered common across traditional Japanese culture. Those tenets tend to be useful for helping CEOs get back into the good graces of their employees or the general public, particularly when CEOs are more broadly seen as prioritizing profits over accountability and trustworthiness. Oh boy, is that a problem. Yeah, tell Jim Ryan that shit. Harvard Business School professional Sandra Sucher told CNBC Make It last year. We're in a last crisis of trust and leadership in the U.S. right now, Sucher said. Leaders of all kinds are failing some of the basic expectations that people have for how they should be treated. So yeah, that gives us an interesting idea about Iwata, right? That we don't need to know more. This right here tells you a lot about that man. Amazing individual. So yeah, they never take their cut. They cut off the workforce. They cut off the workers every single time, even when the workers didn't make those dumb decisions. That's why this video is important, because it needs to be talked about. Layoffs in the industry is a very important thing. You supporting publishers and then laying off the developers is anti-consumer. Because you're not supporting them anymore. You're just feeding the publishers who are going to stay there and replace them with somebody else so they can keep on taking the profit until they're no longer allowed to do that. But that's it right there. All right, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about this. This is an educational, very important video to talk about. I think it needs to be seen. And let's get it out. All right, y'all. Peace. Have a great day.